Hey, I'm Andy. I would like to teach you today how to create a branding template in Google Docs, and it's just going to take a few minutes. So let me share my screen and get started with you. Hold on. Okay, here we go. This is just an empty sample Google Doc that I've just put a title page on real quick. How to create a branding template in Google Docs, Andy Delgado, and then my site to see this. I have changed this Google Doc in just a few ways. This is actually using the Fira Sans font. This is the Fira Sans font bold. That I should have told you that's black. And this is actually Fira Code normal. So let's create a new page and start all over. I'm just going to easily do that by deleting and set this back to 0. So here we go. This is a brand new empty Google Doc. And let me talk about the different ways to do it. Now, some of this has come from my own learning and banging and pulling of hair and gnashing of teeth. Some of it has come from research. For example, the font sizes that I'm going to show you. I've done some research to find out what each level should be, whether it's an H1 through H6, based on old school, old methods for determining font sizes for headlines and things like that. Now, I've already told you I'm going to make my base font size 12. And then, hold on just a minute. Let me turn on my mouse. All right, so now you can see my mouse. If you didn't catch that, yes, I'm running on Linux. Been doing Linux as my main driver for, I don't know, 20 years maybe. This particular version of Linux is what I've been on for the last at least 7, and it's called Pop OS. It is a great platform, especially if you do coding, and that's the main thing I do on here is coding, whether it's web development or apps or whatever. So let's get started. All right, I've told you that I've set my main font for normal text as 12, and I personally am tired of seeing Arial everywhere. So my main deal is Fira Sans. So Fira Sans normal 12. And then the way to make that stick so that it applies everywhere else in the document is to go up here to normal text and then say update normal text to match. Okay, so we're going to call this normal. And then the next one we want to do is, let's start with the H's. So we're going to start with H1. And I'll go ahead and list them all out. H2, H3, H4. All right, so that's all the H's. And then in by default in Google Docs, we also have title and subtitle. Now, you can access all of these different levels by going right up here to this styles button and then clicking the different one, title, subtitle, heading 1, 2, 3, and it actually goes all the way through 6. And we're just going to leave it there. Now, you can do all kinds of different things here, save as defaults, blah, blah, blah. We're going to do it one at a time. And now let me bring in this page so you can see where I'm talking about. I did the research to get this from. So I am a firm believer in Stack Overflow and letting the community teach you things. Now here's what I found. I did a lot of research and this has become my best one. In the old school days, when we determined how big a font was going to be, whoever came up with this thing of taking the square root of 2, 2 over the square root of 2 equals whatever, and that is based on whatever your base font is, you would plug it in. So in my case, since I want my base font to be 12, then we would do the same thing. You could use the Fibonacci numbers instead. There we go. Or you can read this line right here. For a font base of 12, which is what I said, that would be close enough to 12, 17, 14, 11, and 10. Why don't we just copy that so that we can use it in our document? All right, so I'm going to come down here. This is going to be our working notes area, and I'm going to paste that in. And we know then that H1 should be 24. So we're going to change this to 24. And I'm going to make it bold. And it didn't take 24. Sorry about that. All right. So that is my new H1. It's going to be 24 bold. Fira Sans, 24 bold. Now H2 is going to be 17, and you can make that bold or not. That's up to you. I'm going to leave it as not bold so that we have a little bit of contrast in our document. There's our H2. H3 is going to be another bold font, but I may do something else to it. I could make H3 bold italics or just italics. And these things you can configure them the way that you want for your specific style. This is actually branding because I use these fonts all the time the same exact way. And I'm also going to do the same thing with colors. All right. So we just did 12, 17, 14. So 14, and I said, let's make it italics. And then H4 is 12, but so that I don't ever have to say I want bold italics or bold italics underline, I'm going to leave that at 12. You see that right here, and I'm going to make it bold italics. All right, and then H5, and there may be rules for these things. This is just what I do. All right, so it's actually going to be an under font, and I'm going to make it italics, and H6 is going to be another undersized font, and I'm going to make it bold. Oh, it should be 10. All right, so we've got that right. Now, title, by the way, did you catch what I did not do? I did not update all of these. Let's go back. So we're going to highlight this and we go to style of H1 and we're going to say update heading 1 to match. You have to do that for each one of these. Normal state, update heading 2 to match. Now I'll show you why you do that. Well, why don't I just show you some down here? This is the default paragraph font. And then we can do the same thing. H1. There's a method. Stick around. H2. H3. And then we'll just do through 4. Actually, I think we're only limited to that. We're going to say title and subtitle. And there are other effects that you can do. For example, you can say that it gets style line spacing of 1.2 or 1.5, whatever your characteristics are. All right. So we've got all these things. So right now, remember I said, oops, I didn't do the apply. So let's see if I applied this one, H3. If we apply heading 3, it saved it. Let's go change this back to Arial and leave it alone. Actually, let's pick something. There we go. So we're gonna make that our H3, and let me show you why we didn't do this. So this one, let's change this to an H3. See, it did it. Now, if we go change it to something else, let's say we want to change it to Fig Tree. Okay, so now we've got a default H3, but we didn't apply that. We didn't save that as our default for it. If I go hit H3 again, let's go to H2 and then switch it back to H3. See, just because we have adjusted the font up here, we did not save it as the default H3. So let me go put this back where I want it. I want it to be Fira Sans. And I think I said I want it to be bold. And I think we're going to update it now. We're going to say update H3 to match. There we go. So that's why we're doing these updates. All right, we got to do the same thing for H4 and A5, but I think I said that these don't, yeah, they don't show up here. So let's go fix title, right? We want title. I'm going to say that I like title to be huge, bold. So we're going to say 48. And I want it to be Fira Sans Black. Okay, that's probably a little bit too big. Let's drop that down to 36. All right, so that's our title. And so we need to go and update it. Title, update title to match. And then we're going to do the same thing for subtitle. Now, some people like the subtitle to be not as bold, but have something to make it call out. So in this case, we're going to make it probably, let's say subtitle is going to be 24, which is the same as our H1. But we're going to change the font to Fira Sans Light. See, that's going to make a huge difference when you're looking at the title and subtitle. Then we want to highlight that and go to subtitle and say update subtitle to match. Now, let me show you something interesting about Google that you may not have known. So you can look at the preview of what it's actually going to look like when you apply it. For example, this is Fira Sans Black. This is Fira Sans Black, and I think we said 36 or something. This is Fira Sans Light. This is Fira Sans Bold, right? So you can see the preview of what it's going to apply to your document. Okay, so we've done a lot of good stuff. Let's do just a little bit more. We're gonna get rid of this except for one, and I'll use it as my base. Now let's say that you like some default colors, and then let me explain why. Well, let's do it one thing at a time. All right, I'm gonna call this. I use Bootstrap as my most of my work, so the Bootstrap framework. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use the names that Bootstrap uses: primary, and we're just gonna do two of them. Warning. We're gonna do three of them and danger. Now, the primary color from Bootstrap is going to be none of these. So I'm going to set a custom color, and it is 0D6EFD. All right, that's my favorite blue color that I use for buttons, for everything else. So I'm setting that as primary. Now, here's why we're doing this. If we didn't do this in a template and then reuse the template every time in a document, we have no access to our saved colors. They don't actually save just because all of Google Docs in the world for your sign in your account should always save those colors. Yes, but that's not the way it works. So you need to create a template that we can carry and then use otherwise. So let's go with warning. We're going to change the color. We're going to add a color. And this one is going to be FFC 107. That's a great warning color. And then finally, danger is going to be a red. So we're going to go edit the color here. We're going to add a color, and danger is DC3545. These are my favorite colors. They actually work pretty well in white or black. So darker light templates or docs or whatever else. Now, here we go. This is the important part. We're going to call this a template, but this is primarily using Fira Sans as my fonts. Now, if you have font pairs that you want to use, I would name it whatever your font pairs are. For example, if you use Times and Arial, then I would call it the Times Arial template. In this case, it's going to be the Fira Sans template. Okay. Now, here's the key about being able to use a template. Once we're done and we want to go create a document, let's go create a new doc. All right. Instead of just going to Google Docs and creating a new one, oh my goodness, speed up. Instead of creating a new doc or whatever, we're going to create it. We're going to open our template, and then we're going to save as immediately. We're going to make a copy, and it's going to be the name of our document. How to create a I can't talk template in Google Docs. All right, so now we have a document that we've just created, and we're going to say make a copy. That way we've left our template alone. We're not changing it by accident. We are using intent to create a new document, and all of our stuff is there, including our colors. Now, here's what I do when I'm going to start using my template. Just so I don't forget what I've done, I use a new page. So Control Enter, and then I start. And if I were to start writing this document, my titles are going to be how to create a template in Google Docs. Why not just copy and paste? All right, and then that's our title. Then our subtitle would be whatever. The template top. And then we have an H1, and then a heading 2, and then normal font. All right. So now we have our document that we've created. Let's say we found some great research on our own, or we asked ChatGPT or some other LLM to help you. Whatever you've done, that's okay. So we're going to just highlight this line. A triple click highlights a line, and we're going to change this to title. We're going to triple click this line and change it to subtitle. I really think title is too big, so we might go back and adjust that. And then, of course, every document has to have that head 1 and change it to head 1. And then we need to have a heading 2. And then finally, our normal text is alone. Now, if we wanted to change a color, like if we wanted H1 to be a different color, we still have our saved colors, even though that this is a brand new document for us. So if I wanted this to be our blue, there we go. That is incredible to be able to reuse your branding document because it's the font pair that you've chosen for all of your stuff and your colors. So we've got a branding document that contains all of our fonts in the appropriate sizes that we like, and then we have our favorite colors in there. One thing about colors is if you're doing this for your brand, for your business, or maybe your website or whatever, stick with just a couple of colors. Just because you have the whole rainbow to your advantage, you're in your color palette, doesn't mean you need to use them, especially when you think of it in the future. For example, if you are ever going to make merchandise for your brand or your site or whatever, it costs more money for each color you add. For example, like if you're creating a shirt, a logo on a shirt, then you want to just stick with two colors because when you add the third, you're adding another bit of money just for the design and the printing of your shirt versus just a two-color shirt would be a lot cheaper. Okay, I'm stopping. How to create a template in Google Docs. We just did that. Let me stop sharing my screen. That's it. That was pretty quick. I'm glad I was able to help you. I hope you did find this helpful. Please, by any means, head over to andydelgado.com/tutorials to see a few other tutorials. And then if you like this content, please like it, please subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when I do more work. I have some great stuff in store for you. I'll be dropping probably 3 videos a week here on this YouTube channel, and I hope you find it useful. All right, I'll talk to you later. Be blessed. Bye bye.